What's going on, guys? Welcome back to F1 2021 My Team Career Mode for Season 2, Round 13, the Russian Grand Prix. We start this one with a durability event kind of thing happening. We agree to this because why not? It's going to give us a bunch of resource points if we decline, which isn't bad, but it's also going to give us a big discount on a durability upgrade if we go for the accept, so that's what I'm going to go for, especially since we're focusing on durability a lot recently. We're going to put 2 new powertrain upgrades on the car because we're actually not the quickest powertrain anymore, so could do a couple of those because I think our durability department is full. We can't actually do any more on that at the moment. And then we're going to go through the activities. Just got a few to go through here. Relatively large slot of time between the last race and this one, so plenty of time to put a few different parts in there. And then looking at R&D, we are the second fastest team still. Mercedes have taken a bit of a jump above us, and so has McLaren. They're now third fastest, and I mean, just look how close the spread is between all the teams here. It is ridiculously close between, honestly, like the top 8 teams. It's like less than 100 points of R&D between us, so it is very, very close. I'm definitely excited to see where the R&D goes towards the end of the season, and then, you know, depending on whether we have a R&D regulation change or not for next season, where the teams will end up next season, because I have a feeling there could be a little bit of a shake-up, and I'm definitely excited for that prospect. This is the setup that I am going to be using for this weekend for quali in the race and everything. So Q1 all went pretty well. I actually don't mind Russia, Sochi as a track. In real life, it doesn't kind of produce the best racing. I mean, this year it's actually produced a pretty good race, to be fair. But 2021 season, it's absolutely crazy. But in the game, generally, Sochi's, I actually find it to be a decent track. I think it's a relatively fun track to drive around, and it does produce some decent racing in the game as well. So yeah, it's definitely it's not one of my least favorite tracks on the game, to be completely honest. It's actually one that I relatively enjoy. And Q1 goes pretty well. Alonso finishes P9, I finished P10, so obviously pretty close. I think we're only like 1/10 off each other in qualifying 1 there, so no real surprises for people going out in Q1. As we go on to Q2, the session started off dry, but as you can see, it's very, very gloomy in the air. So I tried to go out as quick as I can, one of the first cars out on the track, stick on the soft tyres, get a good dry lap in, or just get a dry lap in at all, because there would be some cars that would miss out because the track was definitely starting to get worse, and then would eventually rain towards the end of the session. So yeah, I just wanted to get out there and get a lap done. But I perhaps made a little bit of a mistake. Now, I make it through, I actually go quickest of everyone, but a lot of people got through on the mediums, because you can see a lot of cars there didn't get a chance to go on dry tyres. They went through on the intermediates. So a lot of guys are going to be starting on the mediums. I'm going to be starting on the softs. So I don't know if that's really going to work out too well for me. Yeah, we'll see how that goes in the race. And then Q3 was definitely a full wet qualifying. As you can see here, the rain is pouring down, the track is most certainly very wet, and we're on full wet tyres. So running a completely dry setup because most of quali's been dry, and the race is set to be completely dry as well. So completely dry setup I'm running here, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I imagine, like I said before, don't really know if the AI kind of change depending on rain and stuff with their setups, but if they do, I imagine they'd be running a dry setup anyway, because the race is going to be completely dry. Most of quali was dry apart from the end of Q2 and this Q3 session. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, of course, though, because I mean, we're doing wet running now in Q3, but we start the race because it is going to be a dry race, and we did get laps done in Q2 on dry tyres. You've got to start on the tyre that you qualified Q2 in. So we are going to have to start on the softs. Everybody else will be starting on the mediums, except for, I think, Christian Lundgaard qualified on the softs, and there might have been one other car. Lando Norris actually got through into the top 10 on the intermediate, so I guess that means he can choose whatever tyre he wants. I'm not 100% sure how that works, but yeah, we're actually on for a really good lap here. Green through the first sector, purple through the second sector, so we actually do have pretty good pace in the wet here at Sochi, and we're going to cross the line pretty sideways. Bit of a scary moment over the line there, and in the end we're going to go P6. Alonso goes P8, so relatively good from both of us there. Lando Norris, it's another pole position for him, and it's a double front row lockout for McLaren with Daniel Ricciardo in second, and then the two Red Bulls. So let's see how this race goes.
Welcome one and all to today's Grand Prix here in southern Russia. A beautiful location besides the Black Sea, and a race that has historically been dominated by the Silver Arrows. Mercedes have won here 6 times since the first race in 2014. Can someone else muscle in on that record here today? Built on the shores of the Black Sea, the Sochi Autodrome is a 3.6-mile tour around some of the venues built for the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. Close barriers may make overtakes more challenging, but with 56% of the lap taken absolutely flat out, we certainly won't be wanting for pure speed. A fitting arena then to do battle at the pinnacle of motorsport. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk briefly about Esteban Ocon. Looks like they've got a tough race in store today, as grid penalties from changing power unit components has forced them further down the field.
But on the bright side, at least those fresh components can help them maintain the power they need to come through the pack. I expect to see them take a more aggressive approach today to make up for the compromised start.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position. And P2 goes to Daniel Ricciardo, a strong showing from the Australian. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Perez, Antonio Giovinazzi, Shaw, Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Leclerc and Yuki Tsunoda, Gasly, Stroll, Sebastian Vettel and Hamilton, Russell, Bottas, Kimi Raikkonen and Christian Lundgaard. They've taken a grid penalty. Latifi, Mazepin, Ocon and Mick Schumacher. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So we've got a couple of grid penalties behind us, both the Alpines taking grid penalties, but we still end up starting P6 as the lights go out for the Russian Grand Prix in Season 2. It's a pretty good start from us, alongside Giovinazzi on the left. He is on the medium tyres though, so we're expected to get a better run as you have Ricciardo and Perez side by side in front. Verstappen's managed to get into second place. Ricciardo is looking for second place though. He's got up the inside of Verstappen but not quite been able to get the move stuck. We got a little bit hung out on the curb and Giovinazzi's got past, and now we've got, I believe it's Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari behind us. It's then all very uniform as we go through here, but you have then got 2 cars wide behind us. And yeah, it's all been a pretty good start, and Lando Norris has got a very good start. I mean, you can look on the mini-map in the bottom left there. He's already got a bit of a gap to the cars behind, who is now Verstappen in second place, and we have just kind of stuck here in 6th place, not moved from the start. It looked like we got a good run on Giovinazzi at the start, but yeah, just into turn 1, kind of got a little bit boxed in by Ricciardo and I think Perez in front of us going too wide, that we got a little bit caught out. As we go through this very fast section here, we're looking at the back of Giovinazzi, but it's quite difficult to do anything at the moment without DRS. I'm sure that is going to be a big overtaking opportunity corner there once DRS comes into effect, but at the moment it's fairly level pegging with all the cars. As you can see, big train of cars here, big gap behind Vettel though. I think something went on, I mean you can't even see them on the mini-map there, something went on behind Vettel that slowed up that second pack and really divided the pack up. Norris has got a big lead. He's probably already got a 1.5 second lead over the rest of the field. As we have a look at the starts here, focusing, I believe, on Lewis Hamilton. There's 4 cars into that first kink there. That's absolutely ridiculous. I think there's actually some damage there. I think it was Lance Stroll on the inside of that, on the inside of the 2 AlphaTauris and one of the other cars. I think it was a Ferrari or something. He's picked up damage. Lewis Hamilton is now getting massively caught out here. He's now stuck behind the 2 Alfa Romeos. He's actually side by side with one of the Williams. I believe that is Valtteri Bottas, his old teammate. Sorry, he's got past the Williams now, and he's now alongside one of the Alfa Romeos, who he's managed to get past. It's not been a good start. As you can see, that the gap has already formed here, because I believe the car at the front of this train, which is the Aston Martin of Lance Stroll, has picked up some damage from the turn 1 incident. Lewis Hamilton's trying to make the most of this bad situation though, as he's now going for a move around the outside on the other Alfa Romeo. I believe this one is George Russell, and he got past Kimi Raikkonen just before. They're side by side all the way around here. Some very, very good racing going on here, but they're getting massively, I mean, look at all the cars here, they're getting massively held up by Lance Stroll. He's definitely got damage, and there's just so many cars, and you even got the Hasses and everything in there as Lance Stroll comes into the pits, and Hamilton is still battling with George Russell, but he's got the inside for the final corner, and he's just about gonna get the position, and hopefully now Hamilton can get away and catch up to that lead pack, because there is a massive gap between, there's just 2 packs now. There's the lead pack where you've kind of got Norris on his own, then this pack that I'm in, and then a massive gap to the pack now headed by Hamilton. As on lap 2, DRS is still not available, but I'm deploying as much ERS as I can and trying to catch up to the back of Giovinazzi. Around this corner here, we have good pace. We have a little look up the inside, but it's not quite enough. But Giovinazzi gives us the room, and we try and hang it around the outside, but then we kind of get stuck out on the curb and can't quite do anything. So I'm just going to leave it until we have DRS available, or maybe we can do something into, well, what is technically turn 2, because this little kink here is technically turn 1. Turn 2 is the main kind of overtaking spot. It's almost pretty much turn 1, because turn 1's just a kink. As we get very close up the back of Giovinazzi into turn 2, I'm probably going to call it turn 1 a few times throughout this video, because it basically is in a way. But now we go onto here, we've got DRS down this part for the first time, and this is where we can really open up our car and show what we can do. We're on the soft tyres, so we should be able to get past these cars as we breeze around the outside of Giovinazzi. But now we're on the inside for this next kind of long chicane, I guess you can call it, and he's still there, but we just about, as we get over the curbs a little bit, managed to get the position on Giovinazzi. But I want to try and make quick work of these guys, because Giovinazzi's on the mediums, Ricciardo's on the mediums, Perez in front of me isn't. He is still on softs at the moment, and I think we're going to go for a move on him now. He's getting caught out by Ricciardo in front quite a lot, so we're going to try and go for the move on Sergio Perez around the outside, gives us the inside for the chicane, and I think we've just about got it done. There we go. That was actually an easier overtake on Perez than it was on Giovinazzi, so it's now time to hunt down Ricciardo, who's on the mediums but is showing some very good pace for sure. It's actually Verstappen in front of him, who's also on the mediums as well, so a lot of medium tyre runners. I think in the top 10 it's only me and Perez. I'm not sure about Norris. Norris might be on the softs as well, but definitely not the majority. The majority are on the mediums. As we have a look in front of us here, Ricciardo is right on the back of Verstappen. These McLarens have some very, very good pace here. Norris is way, way out in front at the moment, and Ricciardo is showing that he looks to have more pace than the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, and he's right up the back of him. But we have the soft tyres, so we should be quicker. Now, these soft tyres aren't going to last forever. We're already on to lap 7, so they're potentially already losing a little bit of pace right now. But we just want to try and gain as much as we can here, because that's just going to help us towards the end of the race. And we've now got DRS on Ricciardo, but he's got DRS on Verstappen, not catching him as much as I thought. But then we get massively caught out. Something I was noticing, the AI seem to turn off their DRS quite early, when, like, before they turn into that very scary, as we get very close behind Ricciardo there. That was almost an accident. I actually looked to make sure we don't have any front wing damage. Even the crowd did a little bit of a cheer there, because it was very, very close. But yeah, that long kind of corner, which is going to be the best for overtaking on this track, I think, other than going into turn 2. The AI seem to turn their DRS off very early, as we have a little look at the inside of Ricciardo, but it doesn't quite happen for us. We're going to have to see if we can do anything once again here. But yeah, for some reason the AI just turned their DRS off really early, and it caught me out a couple of times, as now we have a much better run on Daniel Ricciardo. We're round the outside, we're going for the move into the chicane, but we're still side by side. He's holding it there. He's doing a very good job on those medium tyres. My tyres are now starting to wear a little bit, so I don't quite have the advantage that I did before, and we're still side by side going through the second chicane here, and now Perez and Giovinazzi right up the back of us, especially Perez really looking at the back of us there, trying not to get caught out by Verstappen behind and seeing if he can make a move on one of us while we're battling each other, as we're still side by side all the way around onto the next lap. My engineer's talking to me. I'm on the inside, he's on the outside. I've got really tight into this corner. It's very, very close between us, but he just about gets the run. But I'm now looking all over the back of him, and now Perez is looking at the back of me. He's round the outside into turn 2, but he can't quite get the move done. Gets himself caught out on the grass a little bit, and now has to once again defend from Giovinazzi. But that was a really good battle there with Ricciardo, too wide for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 corners. Really, really good stuff onto the next lap, as now there is a big gap now to Verstappen up ahead of Ricciardo. With us fighting, Verstappen's managed to get a decent lead, but that's good for me because it now means that Ricciardo does not have DRS, and it should theoretically be easier to get past. I'm a little bit further back this time though, so I'm really going to need all the ERS and all the DRS that I can handle as we go for the move on the outside, very, very close to the rear wheel of Ricciardo, but he is still trying to fight it around this corner. We're still side by side, but this time I just about, after Ricciardo gets a little bit of a twitch off the corner, we managed to get the position, and we're up into P3, I think, right now. There's a caution behind me. I think that was actually Giovinazzi going for a spin behind me. Didn't catch it on camera. I actually didn't notice it until I went to go edit this video. But yeah, we are going to come into the pits on this lap though, because our tyres don't seem to have the advantage over the mediums at the moment. So we are now going onto the medium tyres, which should take us till the end of the race. And we'll see what happens there, because it's going to be a little while till the guys in front of me come into the pits. I can't remember what tyres Norris was on. Pretty sure he was on softs, because I think he has come in by this point, but he's still going to be way up in front of us. As Perez actually comes out, he gets a little bit of an undercut on us, but doesn't actually overtake us, but definitely catches up by coming in before us in the pit stops, and he's right on the back of me now, but we can just about keep him behind for these next few corners. Now we have Valtteri Bottas to re-overtake, or not re-overtake, we didn't overtake him in the first place, we were already in front of him, but now we've got to get past him. It's a pretty easy overtake though, it doesn't really put up too much of a fight as we go purple through the second sector. Nice little dive up the inside there on Bottas, and he knows that we are not part of his fight. He's this high up the order purely because he hasn't come into the pits yet. As we carry on into the race, we have, I believe this is Carlos Sainz, I think it's one of the Ferraris, pretty sure it's Carlos Sainz, going for a move on someone. I didn't quite see that. Who is he going for a move on? I think it's one of the Williams actually trying to make his way through the field. Yes, it is. I believe that is Nicholas Latifi fighting off Carlos Sainz there. Sainz got him into turn 1, but Latifi's fighting back through these next corners. They have a nice little battle there, but Sainz does just about come out on top, as he should do. But yeah, nice little battle there for a short period of time, that's for sure. Looking at Lewis Hamilton, he's really struggling here. Of course, he got knocked out in Q2 because he didn't go out on a dry set of tyres and set the slowest time, but I think ended up starting P14 after a couple of grid penalties for other drivers, and he is not making the progress through the field that he would have hoped. Currently stuck behind, I think that was an Alpine and a Williams. As we continue on here, lap number 16 we're going on to, and look at all those cars on the right. We have done a mega undercut on Verstappen and Ricciardo. Norris is still way out ahead, 10.5 or just over 10 seconds up the road in first place, but we have now jumped 2 other cars of Verstappen and Ricciardo, and we're up into P2. Perez has jumped Verstappen as well. And that could be interesting here because Verstappen is on a set of soft tyres, brand new soft tyres, and Perez is on the mediums, and these guys are on the same team, and Verstappen's now coming up to the back of Sergio Perez, and he's going to go for a dive up the inside into turn 2, but Perez is not going to let it go easily. He's going to keep his car right there, and they're going to go too wide through the long corner of turn 3. It is a battle of the ages with the two Red Bull drivers, but tensions could go high here as Perez still manages to stay ahead for the moment, but Verstappen's really going to be wanting to make that move because he's got the new tyres, he's got the quicker, newer tyres. He needs to make the progress that he can, and sure enough, now he's going to come onto this straight once again here where they have the DRS, and it's the best opportunity for overtaking. He's very close to Perez up ahead. There's actually a very tense moment there as they almost go into the wall. He's got the move done though, just about, but Perez is still hanging on to the outside of the chicane here, but Verstappen just about gets through, and Perez should really now not fight him back, let his teammate go up the road, because there is a difference in strategies going on here. We then have a look at Daniel Ricciardo. He's trying to make his way back through the grid on the same sort of strategy as Verstappen, now on the soft tyres. He's making a move on Carlos Sainz there, I believe that is, and yeah, gets the move done pretty well there, just about gets him out of that corner, and he is now up into, I believe, like fifth or sixth place. I think he's now got the two Red Bulls in front of him, so yeah, that would be fifth place. We're continuing on here, to be honest. Not a lot to show from me now. I'm kind of just trying to reel in Lando, but he's very quick. But now I've got some close, nice, free air, clean air, that's the word I was looking for. But I'm just kind of driving my own race at the moment, to be completely honest. As we now look at Daniel Ricciardo, he's caught up to the back of Sergio Perez, and he's going for a move on the Mexican. He goes, once again, this beautiful overtaking opportunity, but Perez really is not giving up too easily in this race. However, he has to give up there, he has to concede. Ricciardo is on the faster tyres, and he's just got to now try and keep P5 if he can. As we now are on lap 25, big jump forward for us, because like I said, there wasn't really anything happening here. We actually get it a little bit all over the place around turn 3, but we are actually reeling in Lando Norris. We've reeled him in by about a second over like 10 laps or something, so not massively close. And I mean, we're not going to catch him towards the end of the race, but we are slowly making ground on him, just putting our foot to the floor. As we now watch Lewis Hamilton, he's now caught up to the back of Sergio Perez, so he's actually made his way through the grid relatively well after a pretty poor start. Once again, going for the move on Perez, but Perez really not letting things go here as they go side by side through the next chicane. They're still side by side around here. It's a great battle between Hamilton and Perez actually manages to keep the position for now as Hamilton gets a bit of a twitch off the corner. He's going to have to try and get the position back from Perez, but he's not. He's being relatively patient because obviously, of course, there is a DRS zone coming down the main straights here, so he's just going to hang behind, use the ERS, use the DRS, and sure enough, he's now going to go for a move, this time around the outside as Perez goes a little bit defensive into turn 2. Hamilton swings it round over the curb there and just about gets the position into P5. And then on the last lap of the race, Daniel Ricciardo catches up to the back of Max Verstappen. Verstappen is currently sitting in P3. Ricciardo wants to take that podium away from him and make it a double McLaren podium, but he's a little bit too far back. This was really his last main opportunity to get the overtake done. He was a little bit too far back. Give it one more lap, and I think Ricciardo would have done it. He seemed to be the much quicker car on track. He's got the fastest lap of the race, but unfortunately, he's going to have to settle for P4. Lando Norris, though, his teammate, goes on to win the Russian Grand Prix. It is what could have happened in the real-life 2021 Russian Grand Prix. And we come home for P2. It's another podium, our third podium of this season and of this whole career mode. P2 for us. Awesome result after a couple of pretty, you know, not great rounds in the last couple of races. So it's a good result.
Another superb Russian Grand Prix comes to an end, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Anthony Davidson, what helped them deliver this result, do you think?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Our winning drivers are on their way to the podium right now. It's been a fantastic race for McLaren, that's for sure, and no doubt they'll be celebrating tonight.
So Lando Norris wins the Russian Grand Prix. It's a great victory for him. The last two races have been won by McLaren, so, you know, they're looking like they could be putting in somewhat of a title fight here. Maybe not for this season, we'll see how things go, but perhaps looking forward to next season with them. I come home for P2, great result for me, and Max Verstappen just about hangs on to P3 from Ricciardo in P4, and Hamilton gets his way back up to P5. So if he didn't have that horrible start that he did, could have been looking at a podium for Hamilton. Alonso does not do well here. P12 doesn't even score any points after qualifying P8, so it's a pretty forgettable race from him. We move up to P8 in the standings. We're now behind Giovinazzi, and Hamilton has only got, what is that, a 10-point lead to Perez in second, so there is potential that the lead of the Drivers' Championship could change next race, and we're back up into 5th. By the way, Red Bull took the lead of the Constructors' Championship last race, but I forgot to mention it, so they are now leading Mercedes, who are then leading McLaren, who are in 3rd. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.